عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك، عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أخوتي أخواتي، باسمكم نرحب بزائرنا الكريم الشيخ محمد الخفاجي أبو جعفر. أهلا وسهلا، طبتم مولانا، بين أحضان من أخوانكم وأخواتكم إن شاء الله.
the walking in Mashaya towards the shrine of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. But remember that the majlis of Imam Hussein alayhi salam is also very rewardable. And you can imagine yourself being in some of the mawkib or some of the tents, and because you are mourning for Imam Hussein, you are talking about him, discussing him, it's as if we are in the presence of Abi Abdullah Hussein alayhi salam. One of the narrations that once I read on the shrine of Lady Fatima al-Ma'suma alayhi salam in Qom, and they put this narration on some of the shrines, is a narration that reminds us how important azadari or crying for Imam Hussein alayhi salam is. The narration is from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, tasbih nafasul mahmum li dhulmina tasbih. A sad sigh, a sad grief for our oppression, for the dhulm that happened to us, Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, is equal to tasbih, is equal to the glorification of God. What does it mean that, for example, many times this happens that we're in the majlis or we're at home and you get sad for Imam Hussein alayhi salam and you either give a sad sigh, which is even lower than crying, it's just a sad sigh. This is equal to glorification of God. And some people, when you look at this narration, sometimes you don't understand it. What is the connection between being sad for Imam Hussein and glorifying God? وَهَمَّهُ لَنَا عِبَادَةً. And the hum, and that sadness is also for us, ibadah, worship. Shaheed Muhammad Baqir al-Sadr, great scholar, great shaheed, he mentions that Imam Hussein alayhi salam is not a normal person, addi. He's not normal, that he lived in a certain time period and he died in a certain time period. He says that Imam Hussein alayhi salam is huwa al-Islam kakul. He is all of Islam, as if all of the parts of Islam. And if you want to understand this, maybe you can understand it this way, that if you took the beautiful religion of Islam and you wanted to make a human out of it, how would it look like? It would be it would be an infallible person. It would be a prophet or successor. So Imam Hussein alayhi salam is the manifestation of Islam. Because if you look at a human that is worshipping Allah, it's nothing but actions of tawheed, nothing but glorification of God. So when you remember Imam Hussein alayhi salam and remember that when he is martyred in Karbala, all of Islam is martyred. The display of Islam is martyred. The sign of Allah, as Imam Ali alayhi salam mentions, Ana ayatullah al-uzma, I am the great sign of God. The great sign of God has been killed. So therefore, when you cry for Imam Hussein, who are you really crying for? Islam. You're crying for the deen. You're crying for the sign of God, the symbol of God, the religion of God. Therefore, we can understand that the sad grief that you have for Imam Hussein is equal to the glorification of God, because these are the best of God's signs. When you look at the story of Prophet Saleh, anyone here familiar with the story of Prophet Saleh and the people of Thamud? They used to build these huge, the civilization and homes inside mountains. And they had a civilization that was not like any other. So when Prophet Saleh came to them, he asked them to believe, as how the prophets did before. And when he asked them to believe, they said, bring a sign. And he asked them, what do you want? What kind of sign do you want? Because every prophet has a miracle. What was the sign that he brought? A naqa, a she-camel from where? In the rock, in the mountains. Camels aren't born from, mountains. So imagine exactly the description they wanted. That same camel came and was present. He said, we will believe in you if you bring this sign, this miraculous sign. And he brought it for him. And then it's very interesting. Then they kill the camel, Quran says. They slay the camel. Then the adhab happens upon them. They killed one camel and the entire civilization why do you think killing one camel would equal to an entire, civilization being wiped out? If I kill, for example, let's just say there's a sheep. How many sheep are killed, for example, in Hajj? Right? How many Hujjaj do we have? 1 million. If I were to go outside and shoot a deer, say it's dhulm even, just to shoot a deer, would that be equal to an entire civilization of humans dying? Say it's dhulm, it's wrong, just shooting a deer just for fun. But why do you think the Quran mentions that when a camel is slaughtered, one camel, and one person slayed it, and the rest were satisfied, why do you think that entire civilization would be destroyed? Because that camel was a sign of God. Because that camel is not a normal camel anymore. Because that is a sign that he is a miracle that the Prophet Saleh is now a prophet of God. So when you attack that camel, who are you fighting against? Allah. So therefore, in the same way, Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam would used to say that we are like the naqa. We are like the story of the she-camel of Prophet Saleh, because we were the signs and symbols of God. And they came and they slew us. So to understand the martyrdom of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, it's about the signs and sha'a'ir of God. It is not just killing one human is terrible. Slaughtering a child that's 6 months old is horrible. But this is this child of Imam Hussein. These are the children, these are the companions, and this is Imam Hussein himself, means this is the sign of God. So therefore, when you cry for Imam Hussein, you're glorifying Allah. And when you fight, God forbid, if somebody fights against Imam Hussein alayhi salam, as if they're fighting against God. Please recite. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So therefore, no matter what happens in the world, and we see oppression today in our lives today, we see what's been happening over 300 days in Gaza. It's terrible. The stories and videos and imagery we see, and we're trying to make sure that what we learn from Imam Hussein alayhi salam's revolution impacts the way that we live our lives, how we fight against justice, fight against injustice, fight against oppression. But at the same time, sometimes you hear statements that, for example, comparing one action or comparing killing to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So we have to be careful that we are against dhulm, oppression. But at the same time, no person can become like Imam Hussein. La yawm ka yawmika ya Aba Abdullah. No day is like your day. Imam Hussein is an institution, an academy. It teaches us to fight against oppression. It does. And those that are in Gaza resisting, they're learning from Imam Hussein. Just how sometimes even those that are non-Muslims, like Gandhi, for example, learned from Imam Hussein. He says that the revolution of Imam Hussein, he learned this from him. But at the same time, we see that no killing, because Imam Hussein alayhi salam is a symbol of God. It's completely different. And tonight and other nights we'll talk about this. There's many things that are unique to Imam Hussein. And of them is the way that he was martyred, who the Imam was. And martyring him is not equal to killing a normal person. Killing him is equal to killing all of existence. Prophet Ibrahim and Prophet Ismail, they were the prophets who built the Kaaba. And the Quran talks about this. Prophet Ibrahim and Prophet Ismail, they built the Kaaba. Interesting thing in the tradition has that in Al-Kafi, when he builds the Kaaba, ثم بناه قعد إبراهيم على ركن ثم نادى هلم الحج هلم الحج. At that time, Prophet Ibrahim calls and says, Halum al-Hajj, come towards Hajj. Halumma, the answer to this would be labbaik, come towards Hajj, come towards Hajj. The Imam Sadiq mentions, فَلَوْ نَادَى هَلُمُّوا إِلَى الْحَجِّ لَمْ يُحِجْ إِلَّا مَنْ كَانَ يَوْمَئِذٍ. Whoever was during that time they would perform the Hajj. If the Imam said in Arabic, halummu ila al-Hajj. Halummu is plural in Arabic. It means come, you guys, I command you to come. But halumma al-Hajj is singular. One is singular, halumma al-Hajj. The second is plural, halummu ila al-Hajj. It makes more sense in Arabic to say halummu ila al-Hajj. Come, do Hajj. So everyone now Hajj is wajib. But the tradition, Imam Sahib breaks it down for us and how daqiq in specific Arabic is. He says that the Imam says, halummu al-Hajj falabba an-nas fi aslab al-rijal. I want you to pay attention when I'm saying here. I'm going to relate it to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So Prophet Ibrahim tells everyone, mankind in general, halummu Hajj. Insan, everyone who is mankind, even if you're born, even if you're not born, O mankind, come towards Hajj. Every person that is now going to Hajj, once in their life at least, which is wajib, he is doing labbaik. He's answering the call of Prophet Ibrahim, which is thousands of years ago. So the Prophet did not say, halummu ila al-Hajj, meaning, oh, you who are present today, come towards Hajj. He made a call that is timeless. He made a call that goes through all time periods until now. And therefore, the tradition has that whoever was in the loins of men, they said, labbaik, Allah, labbaik. Whoever was not born yet, they said, labbaik, I will go to Hajj, I will go to Hajj. So this is one call of Prophet Ibrahim that is timeless, that is existing until now. And whoever goes to Hajj is answering the call of Prophet Ibrahim. Was the call of Imam Hussein alayhi salam also timeless? Meaning that when he called for help on the day of Ashura, was his call only for the people of 1400 years ago? Or is Imam Hussein just how Prophet Ibrahim called us thousands of years ago? Imam Hussein alayhi salam is calling us now. Was it something that was limited to his time period? You see, in one of the ziyarats, to answer this question, one of the ziyarats of Imam Hussein, we say, labbaik. This is kind of the same way. We say, we answer you, O the one who has called Allah. If my body could not respond to your call when you called for it, when you called for aid, my tongue could not respond to your call for help, then my heart, my hearing, my sight has verily responded to you. So the ziyarat is saying that I am answering your call, Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Brothers and sisters, this is another big distinction between the call of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and all the other calls. One is the call of Prophet Ibrahim, which is still existing now, and we have to answer, we have to go to Hajj. The second is the call of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, who called 1400 years. And you today, brothers and sisters, you are answering it. You're coming to help Imam Hussein alayhi salam. But how are you helping? The big is helping by participating in the majlis. Helping revive the name of Imam Hussein, keeping it alive. The second way that you help and answer the call of Imam Hussein is by implementing what he said. And we'll talk about it tonight. Reforming ourselves, doing islah of myself, and taking the message of Imam Hussein and changing society today by the message of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So it is a live message. It is a live call. Who is going to help me? Who is going to follow my path? Brothers and sisters, there are those that these 40 nights cry for Imam Hussein. We're black, are sad, but they think that's it. This was a very good Muharram. This was a very good Safar. I ate the most nadri ever, for example, this Muharram Safar, for example. I had the most tabarruk, or I cried the most. This is good. Getting, tabarruk is good. But we ask ourselves, what islah happened? What reformation happened? What did you learn from Imam Hussein alayhi salam? One of our great scholars, Imam Musa al-Sadr, who moved to Lebanon and was so effective in gathering the Shia. Even though he didn't necessarily, he spoke very good Arabic, but his accent was a Farsi accent. His accent that he spoke was a Farsi accent. There's places in Lebanon, they talk about, the accent of Imam Musa al-Sadr, or Seyed Musa al-Sadr. He says this, and this, if he didn't say it, I wouldn't have courage to say it. He says, do not be like those who cry for Imam Hussein alayhi salam, but they behead Imam Hussein. They kill Imam Hussein. Do not be like those. How, he says, do you cry for Imam Hussein but behead him? You cry for him, but you kill the message. The message. There are 100 solid lessons in Ashura. 100 solid lessons. For example, a person that just cries for Imam Hussein but makes a peace treaty with the oppressors, so those that are committing genocide. They are those that have cried for Imam Hussein but killed the message of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Or anyone that moves against in what Imam Hussein alayhi salam was trying to rectify and to change. So Muharram and Safar are for us meant to be a time period for us to change it. One, it is a call. Three things I mentioned so far. One, it is unique by being equal to glorification of God because he is the sign of God. Two, it is a timeless call that when Imam Hussein alayhi salam called for help, it is still affecting God. Be helping Imam Hussein alayhi salam now. And that it should reform us. It should change us. What is the purpose of these majalis? Maybe, I would like to get your opinion, but maybe inshallah, afterwards inshallah. But one way we can look at one of the main purpose of this coming together crying. What do you think the one purpose is? To help the Imam of the age, to prepare for Imam Zaman, to cry for Imam Hussein, learn from Imam Hussein, and tell myself, I'm not going to let the same thing happen to Imam Mahdi. I'm going to train myself, reform myself, get prepared that I will continue the movement of Imam Hussein with Imam Mahdi. Do you notice that in Ziyarat Ashura, this gift from Imam Bagha alayhi salam, 2 times Imam Mahdi is mentioned in Ziyarat of Imam Hussein. Talab al-Thari, to get revenge, to seek revenge. You read Ziyarat Ashura, but is it just something, I cried 1400 years ago, that's it happened? Or is it something for today? I cry so that today I can fight and help and become a soldier. That is the purpose, we can say. And that is how meaningful Ashura is. That is why Ashura has always been one of the pillars of Shiism, is to produce soldiers for Imam Zaman, to wake up that our Imam is in hiding, our Imam is in occultation, and that all Ghaibatu, Seyed al-Tusi, one of our great mutakallimin, says, وجوده لطف غيبته عنا وجوده لطف وتصرفه وغيبته عنا. The existence of Imam Mahdi is a lutf, is a blessing. His tasarruf and ability over the universe is a blessing, a lutf from God. But his occultation is from us. So the purpose of these majalis, dear brothers and sisters, do not take it very light, is to make people companions like Imam Hussein alayhi salam had companions. The message of Imam Hussein is timeless. In the martyrdom of Imam Hussein, it cannot be compared to any type of killing because it is the killing of the display and the example of Islam. Please recite Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. When we look at the Holy Quran and you want to learn about the language of Quran, I recommend studying the Quran, reading tafsir of it. Those who don't know how to read Arabic, learn to read Arabic. Get used to reading Arabic in Quran. You benefit a little bit from reading translation. Very good. Many people have become Muslim just by reading translation. But if you benefit from, you have to look at the language, because the main miracle of the Quran is the balaghat and eloquence of the Quran. Think about it. How many years has been and nobody could write a chapter of the Quran. And this is one of the proofs that some of our philosophers and mutakallimin say, you want to get rid of Islam and Muslimin? You don't need to drop so many missiles and bombs at us. Just make a chapter, because Quran says make a chapter. You could just make a chapter, take all the professors and intellectuals and write قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. Something like this, right one. They couldn't. 1400 years. How many people tried to, kill Islam, or kill all the Muslims? One of the strongest proofs we have that Quran is a miracle is that after so much animosity and hatred that they had of Islam throughout the years, hundreds of years, nobody could make it one chapter. And Quran challenges. It's the only book to challenge. It says, make one. So there's a contest. It's a live contest right now. So Quran, linguistic miracle. And when you read the Holy Quran, one tip is to see how Quran mentions words and defines it by the opposites. It says one word, gives you the exact opposites. Arabic, it says تُعْرَفُ الْأَشْيَاء بِأَضْدَادِهَا. You know things by their opposites. I'm going to give you some examples. Nur, the opposite is the Quran, dhulumat. Right? It's very interesting. Some of the ayahs say nur, singular, and the opposite is dhulumat, plural, because the way of dhulumat is many, but the path is one. The right path and light is one. Nur and dhulumat, like in Surah Ayatul Kursi. Hidayah. Hidayah, what's the opposite of hidayah? Guidance. Do you notice I say the good words for myself and I say the negative words for you? Hidayah, opposite is dalala, misguidance. You see verses, talks about hidayah, then dalala. Let's switch. I'll do kufr. I'll be the kafir, kufr. What is the opposite of kufr? Al-iman. So Quran talks about and allows us to know vocabulary words by opposites. Next time you read Quran, notice this. Complete opposites, because there's two paths. There's two paths. Either Allah, or it's the path of Taghut. It's the path of the idols of Allah, path of shaitan. There's two paths. Actually, some of the traditions say this. It says when you have a blessing, either it's spent in Allah's path or that blessing is spent in the Taghut's path. For example, you have money. You don't spend it in the right way for family, for the center, for example, charity. Something will happen, you'll spend it in uselessness, Taghut's path. Time, for example. You have time. You don't use that time wisely for reading Quran, studying, family, brotherhood, even a hobby for Allah is fine. Then you see, it gets spent in the Taghut's path that time. All of our resources are that way because there's two paths. Either Allah's path or Shaitan's path. Okay? So when we look at this word that tonight we're going to be starting this, introduction to our, few nights series, is what is the opposite of fasad, corruption, is Islah, is reformation, change, rectifying ourselves. So Quran very clearly, let me give you one example. وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ لَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ قَالُوا إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُصْلِحُونَ. Verse 11, Surah Baqarah, from the beginning of the Quran. When it's told to them, do not fasad, do not cause corruption on the earth. قَالُوا إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُصْلِحُونَ. We are those that are causing, we are the good guys. Today, you see, for example, in Gaza. Over and over, they said, we're actually the rectifiers. We're the reformers. We're trying to get rid of this group. We're actually fighting them. If we don't fight them, they're going to fight you. We have to do it. But actually, they are the ones that Quran then mentions. It's not necessarily, this is, we can say that this is an example maybe today. Allah innahum humul mufsidun. Actually, Quran then says, you're actually the mufsidun. You're the corruptors. They say, we are the muslihun, then Quran says, you are the mufsidun. So you see the opposites. It's used throughout the Quran of words. وَلَكِنْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ. But you do not perceive. So therefore, we see that in the Quran, to change ourselves, this has been one of the main messages of all the prophets. That the prophets came and they were sent to rectify either people's beliefs and will say La ilaha illallah. It's very interesting. If you look at the history of Islam, And I tell this to people that come to Islam recently, to converts. If you look at, when the first legislation came, when did it come? When were the first rules introduced in Islam? The Prophet did perform salat. He performed salat even before his, mission started. But when was salat ordered? When was fasting ordered? When was at the beginning of the message or towards the end while the Prophet was in Mecca? Towards the end. Because the entire mission at the beginning was only beliefs, to rectify beliefs. قولوا لا إله إلا الله تفلحوا. Just say لا إله إلا الله تفلحوا. People today would love like that, just to have say La ilaha illallah. There's no more wajibat, muharramat. Just say La ilaha illallah. Very easy today. But back then it was hard. Back then they would kill you, torture you, kill your parents, yourselves. See, for example, the example of Ammar, for example. What happened to him, his parents, his mother, for example, Ammar. And what a great companion he became. He continued on the Prophet of Rasulullah, continued with Imam Ali. Do you know what age he was when he was martyred in Siffin? What age was Ammar? Yes, in the 90s. How can you even lift up armor? How can you even move when you're 90? He was the 90-year-old champion of Siffin, in the Battle of Siffin. When he came, so many people came to Imam Ali's side, alayhi salam, because they knew about Ammar. So anyways, you look at the first message of Islam was the message of beliefs, to change beliefs, to rectify beliefs. And I tell converts this too all the time. Do not confuse them. If you see someone new in Islam, or sometimes someone who's young, work on the beliefs first. Maybe when we're young, the practices are more important. When somebody is new to Islam, work on the beliefs. Then we see another type of change that needs to happen, Islah in behavior. Islah in economics, to change the way we do business, to change the way that we deal with usury, riba, to change the way we behave and act and worship God, to change our family structure. You see, all of this was the Prophet of Allah. He changed all of this individually in all these different degrees. Prophet Shu'aib alayhi salam was sent for two types of Islah we see in the Quran. One was that he lived in the city of Madian. Madian is around in northwestern today Saudi Arabia, Jordan, around that area, you could say, Madian, around that area. And he came to rectify the people's beliefs. One, they were mushrik. That's what the prophets came. And the Quran mentions very nicely about Prophet Shu'aib that he came, وَإِلَى مَدْيَنَ أَخَاهُمْ شُعَيْبًا قَالَ يَا قَوْمِ اعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مَا لَكُم مِّنْ إِلَٰهٍ غَيْرُهُ. This is message. Worship Allah. There's no God besides Allah, besides Him. So that is Islah in beliefs. Then he tells them to be fair and business. وَيَا قَوْمْ later on. أَوْفُوا الْمِكْيَالِ وَالْمِيزَانِ بِالْقِسْطِ. When you weigh things, some say the first scale that came was during the time of Prophet Shu'aib, that they actually weighed things. For example, I want to sell you silver. Ring is not for sale, by the way, if I want to sell you this. And you see how heavy it is. You say this many grams, for example, and I'll sell you, for example, this. What they did is they'll say this is, for example, 1 gram, but then they would give half a gram. They would cheat people. They'd give them half. So he says, awfu, be loyal to the scale. Be loyal to the scale when you do business. Be good businessmen. Then mentions in the Quran that Ya qawmi wa ma, later on, ma uridu an ukhalifakum ila ma, continuing all the way, in uridu illa al-islah. All I want from you people is Islah. I only want to change you, rectify you. Then he says, mastatat, whatever is allowed, whatever I'm able to. Meaning that I cannot change you. A prophet cannot change you unless you want to change yourself, whatever I'm able to. وَمَا billah. And for me to be muwaffaq, for me to be successful in this, it depends on Allah. If Allah wants to give me tawfiq of changing you, yes. So what happened is, did they change or not? No, they did not change. And he spread the word of Allah. Destruction happened on that city because they didn't listen. So when you look at the example of Prophet Shu'aib, two types of Islah. One is an economic behavior, economic business practice. The second is in beliefs. Now we look at Imam Hussein alayhi salam. We see that Imam Hussein alayhi salam also has a letter that he mentions what he's doing. And he mentions that the very famous sentence, أني لم أخرج أشرا ولا بطرا ولا مفسدا ولا ظالما وإنما خرجت لطلب الإصلاح. I have not come to rebel for example, things. I've come to fight to لطلب الإصلاح, to want reform of society, Islah. So Imam Hussein alayhi salam, just like all the other prophets, was sent, and he is an imam, was sent so that people can change, so that society can change. What was going on during that time? When you talk about this important topic of reformation, what was going on? So, weren't everyone Muslim? Weren't they praying? Weren't they staying away from, for example, alcohol? What was going on? Let me open this up a little bit. We have this person by the name of Abdullah ibn Hanzala. Abdullah ibn Hanzala. Why is he important? I'll mention why. His father in the battle of Uhud. Hanzala was Shaheed, so he's son of a Shaheed of Uhud. Abdullah ibn Hanzala became one of the leaders of Medina, one of the importance of Medina. He did not participate in the battle of Karbala. We don't know why. Abdullah ibn Hanzala. But then he has 8 sons. Yazid sends the important people of Medina to come to Sham to talk to them, because he heard that after the martyrdom of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, people of Medina were very upset. They're going to rebel. He wanted to see what he can do and take and have peace with the people of Medina. He spends about a month or so, something like that, in Sham. He comes back to Medina. And because back then wasn't like now where you could take photography, videos, or you could send email or text. He came back, and the people of Medina asked Abdullah bin Hanzala, how was the Khalifa? These things that we've heard, is it true? What is he doing? Did he pray? Was he not praying? And he mentions to them that at that time, he said that I had never seen the Khalifa pray. He was always drunk. He had haram relationships. He was doing dhulm and oppression. This is one witness. After a month of spending time with Yazid in Sham, he comes back and it backfires. It backfires, and he comes and he tells the people of Medina what he saw. And they were furious. They heard what happened, but now they heard from one of their confidants that actually he is not practicing Islam at all. He's drinking, he's not praying, he's doing dhulm. So they said, what kind of Khalifa is this? And they rebelled. In the Waqa'atul Harra, when Yazid came and they went to smash, and he not himself, but he sent people to smash the rebellion, thousands of people were killed, other disgraceful events happened, and all 8 sons of Abdullah ibn Hanzala were martyred in this path. All of his sons were martyred. So we see one historical piece of evidence of what was going on, and who Imam Hussein alayhi salam was fighting against was being a person that did not represent Islam at all. And that is why we believe that Imam Hussein alayhi salam, the only way for him to do Islah was to come with his family, himself, ordered by Allah, and to shed his holy blood, so that people can wake up today. We can ask this important question today. If Khilafat is true, if it is right, that the Khalifa system is right, then why did it end up killing Rasulullah? Why were the grandchildren of Rasulullah martyred? Why did Hussein ibn Ali, which was one of the greatest of the youth, why was he martyred? What kind of Khalifa system is this? I don't want him to be my Khalifa. And therefore, those that accept the Khalifa system, they're wondering which path to follow. Should I follow and stick with Khalifa system, or should I make an exception now? Some, like the Wahhabis today, they do not make an exception. Some of them say the work of Yazid was Shar'i, was legitimate. Some of them today, Al Shaykh, for example, this is what he did. He's the blind person, Al Shaykh. Some have worked, like this scholar Aghamisi, or if I remember his name right, he's the lead scholar of Masjid al-Quba. Thousands of students in Saudi Arabia. He used to have maybe the same. There's no Imam Hussein alayhi salam. The truth was with him. He's Wahhabi, Salafi. But what happens to him, Maghamisi, Sheikh Saleh Maghamisi, he has a video, you can watch it on YouTube. He says that I was having surgery. And the doctor, they open up my heart. They have opened a heart surgery, and they come back to me after it's done, and they tell me we were not successful. You need to do it again. Meaning that the second time it might. Wonder mentions that a lady comes, a nurse, probably Lebanese, comes and tells us, Salafi Shaykh, why don't you do Nazr? Why don't you make a vow? Why don't you recite one salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. It says just this way, say it this way, she says. I'll say Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. To Wahhabi Salafi Shaykh. Very popular. And he says, I'm going to die, basically. Let me just say a salawat before I die. So he says the salawat, and he's saying this on TV, and the person that is interviewing him, he wants to turn off the things to stop it, and he says, yes, I said one salawat. You can watch it, it's on YouTube. And came back, after a while, they came back, doctor says, you're fine now. You're fine, you don't need surgery. You don't need surgery. One salawat of a Wahhabi opened his heart up to that extent that now he keeps defending, talking about Imam Hussein Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, is driving the Wahhabis nuts. This is a very important scholar, Sheikh Saleh Maghamisi. So you see that Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he has that ability to rectify, to change, and that at his time, truly imagine, put yourselves, people were confused because they had the government, they had the mufassirin, they had the fake hadith, and he's saying he is the Khalifa of the Muslimin Yazid. As you know, around year 132, after a while, the Umayyads, they were overtaken. There was such resentment from the Umayyads that they favored the Bani al-Abbas. Not that the Bani al-Abbas were necessarily better, but at least they claimed to be of the family of the Prophet and with the family. So when this movement happened, they said, let's kill anyone that is from the Umayyads. They began to get revenge. They dug up the grave of Muawiyah. They dug up the grave of Yazid at that time. And they said, whoever is Umayyad, let's kill him. So everyone ran away when the Abbasids took power. And actually, the Abbasids later on did a lot of dhulm to Ahlul Bayt. But right now, the entire message and slogan is, let's get revenge. They have killed the family of the Prophet. So at that time, one of the sons of Marwan II, he was the last Umayyad Khalifa. He runs away to Egypt, that area. He runs away to Egypt, and he becomes a guest of a Christian king. He becomes the guest of a Christian king. For 3 days he's there, and now the Christian king comes to him, the son of the last Khalifa, possibly the heir, right? The heir to the Umayyads, if he's alive. He comes to him and asks him, how long did you guys rule? Let me ask you, how long did you Umayyads rule? It mentions to him, for example, 80, 90 years. 80, 90 years of rule. He says, did you your religion doesn't have like alcohol is haram, salat is wajib, all these music, all these things. Are these things haram in your religion? These things wajib, obligatory in your religion? He says, yes. He says, did you act upon it? He says, no. We told the people to act upon. We did not at all, he says. His son, one of the last Umayyads, we did not act upon this at all. Salat, alcohol, haram, everything, engagements. He tells them to fire because the chastisement of Allah is going to befall on us. Leave my empire. So this is the situation, dear brothers and sisters, that the Umayyads had caused. They did not practice and they did the opposite. And they were the Khalifa, supposed to be the successors. I know that some of us have heard this, but it's very important to have these historical records and stories to understand that when Imam Hussein alayhi salam is fighting against this and giving his holy blood, is to wake people up, to make the path clear. So that me and you today, it can be very clear that this is the Khilafat system, it doesn't work. The only system that works is the Imamate system, because you have two systems, either Khilafat, chosen by people, and it ends up being either the Umayyads, or it ends up being the Abbasids, or you have the system of Imamat, which is you have a divine leader chosen by Allah, knowledge by Allah, and is infallible, does not sin. There's two paths. Imam Hussein alayhi salam made it clear, all the Imams made it clear, Sayyidah Fatima made it clear, Rasulullah made it clear for us. And this is one way that Imam Hussein alayhi salam today, he is causing us to be reformed and to rectify and change us. Hopefully we'll talk about other aspects of how Imam Hussein alayhi salam changes us and changes society, and how we also need to learn from the example of Imam Hussein to do Islah. Hopefully these remaining days before Arba'een, Allah can help us to change ourselves, change society, and become more like the companions of Imam Hussein and like the companions of Imam Mahdi. Please recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We're going to remember the dhulm and oppression that happened to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. If we can dim the lights, it's good. If we can't, it's fine. Remember that we're trying to take as much impact, be impacted and influenced as much as by the message of Imam Hussein as possible. And one of those ways is to be emotional, to be spiritual. All the Imams, what we have, they remembered and cried for Imam Hussein alayhi salam. The Imams had majlis for Imam Hussein alayhi salam. They wanted to preserve what we are doing today. We see from the time of Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam that the ladies of Bani Hashim would cry for Imam Hussein. And Lady Zainab alayhi salam and Imam Zainul Abidin alayhi salam, he'd bring them food, do it'am. They would wear black. So these majalis continued to the time of Imam Baqir alayhi salam, Imam Sadiq. Imam Sadiq, he brought so many narrations about a person who cries for Imam Hussein, a person that tries to cry for Imam Hussein, a person others cry for Imam Hussein, a poet who writes about Imam Hussein alayhi salam, so that we can benefit. When I talk about the dhulm that happened to Abi Abdullah alayhi salam, you think one of Ali Asghar. He is the symbol of oppression of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. But also, when you think of Lady Ruqayya, some say Sukaina, the 3-4-year-old daughter of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, you ask yourself, especially those that have either little sisters, or they have little cousins, or their fathers, and you have a little girl, and you see how cute a little girl, how they talk, how they are, and how could somebody either come and try to harm a 3 or 4-year-old? You ask yourself. That Imam Hussein alayhi salam has this daughter that, as the poet says in Farsi, he says that the hand of the enemy was larger than my face. How small is the face of a 3-4-year-old? How large and heavy is the hand of someone from the army of Sham? said that the hand of the enemy was large hands. When he struck me, my face became bruised. Usually when somebody strikes somebody, one part of their face becomes bruised. But if that face is so small, I apologize for saying this, Imam of the age. If that face and that hand is so large, the entire side becomes bruised. The month of Safar is the month of the daughter of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. The daughter, Kufa says, as if your Fatima, your tiny Fatima is beginning to be melted. She cannot take it. She's asking, Father, Father, where are you? Is mentioned, it is said, Father, where are you in the dungeons of Sham? Usually when a 3 or 4-year-old loses their father, someone comes and gives them condolences. But instead of condolences, they would hit her, they would smack her. Usually a 3 or 4-year-old daughter in the deserts would count the stars, would not count how many bruises she has. Usually the bottom of the feet of a 3-4-year-old is usually soft because they're usually taken care of, has not become dry from being forced to walk on the lands, on the sands. They bring the head of Imam Hussein alayhi salam to her. She begins, as some of the Maqtal says, Ya Abata man itamani ala sighara saddi. Father, who has made me an orphan at such a young age? What does a 3-4-year-old daughter say when she sees her father finally? But not in this way. The holy head of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, it's mentioned she came and grabbed the holy head and began to talk, began to speak. But she's only 3 or 4 years old. She cannot bear. And then her spirit leaves her tiny body and she becomes the symbol of oppression of Imam Hussein alayhi salam in Sham. Inna lillah, inna ilayhi raji'un. Matam al-Hussein alayhi salam.
Ya Hussein, 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 Sakin through the night, waiting for her father Hussein. Soldier walks in with head in arms. Sakina stops crying and recites, Oh my dear, where have you been? They rip ears, burn hands. Oh my father, where have you been? They ripped my ears, burned hands. لا أرى الموت إلا السعادة لا حياة إلا السعادة لا حياة الشهادة لا أرى الموت إلا السعادة لا حياة إلا الشهادة لا حياة إلا crying into the night, waiting for her father Hussein. Soldier in arms,
Sakina stops crying and recites, oh my father, where have you been? They ripped my ears, burned down my hands. Oh my father, where have you ripped my ears? لا إلا إلا الشهادة لا حياة إلا لا لا حياة إلا الشهادة لا حياة إلا الشهادة بأبي أنت وأمي يا أبا عبد الله بأبي أنت وأمي يا أبا عبد الله بأبي أنت وأمي يا أبا عبد الله Everyone بأبي أنت وأمي يا أبا عبد الله 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 My Sakina, come to me, my sweet. Come and give your father a kiss on his cheek, my sweet. I only hope you will find a way up to me here. Look above you, my head on a spear. بأبي أنت وأمي يا أبا عبد الله 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 بأبي أنت Everyone أمي لا أبا عبد الله Oh my father, be you proud of me. Yesterday in Karbala, Akbar became Shaheed. Don't you worry anymore, I'm now so happy here, comfortably resting upon the tip of this spear. بأبي أنت وأمي يا أبا عبد الله 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 بأبي أنت وأمي يا أبا La, my Sakina, how you need to rest. Let father lull you asleep, put your head on my chest. Just forgive me, for I cannot kiss you, stroke your head. Look away, please look away, they have taken my head. بأبي أنت وأمي يا أبا عبد الله 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 بأبي أنت وأمي لا بأبي أنت وأمي Dinna, Lady Zahra, Abbas tried his best. I guarded Mawla Hussein while I could without rest. Now I am helpless, there's one request I leave you with. Take some water to him, I have no arms to hold with. بأبي أنت وأمي يا أبا عبد الله 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 بأبي أنت وأمي يا Take me to Karbala, leave me there. Take me to Karbala, leave me there. take me to Karbala. Leave me there, leave me there, take me to Karbala. Leave me there, take me to Karbala. Leave me there, take me to Karbala. Leave me there, leave me there. Hussein, bye. Hussein, bye. Hussein, bye. Hussein, bye. صل على محمد وآل محمد. Allah.
Ya Allah, we ask, because of Lady Ruqayya, cure all the sick, inshaAllah. Have mercy on our departed. Answer everyone's du'as and hawa'ij, inshaAllah. Help the innocents in Gaza and Palestine. Help those that are fighting against oppression. And expedite the return of the Imam of the age. Assalamu alayka ya Rasulallah. Assalamu alayka ya khayra khalqillah. Assalamu alayka ya Safiyallah. Assalamu alayka ya Muhammad ibn Abdullah, Khatam al-Nabiyyin. Assalamu alayka ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, Wasiyya Rasulullah. Assalamu alayka ya Fatima, Sayyidat Nisa al-Alameen. Assalamu alaykuma ya Sibti al-Rahma, Sayyiday Shabab Ahl al-Jannah. Assalamu alayka ya Ali ibn al-Husayn. Assalamu alayka ya Muhammad ibn Ali. Assalamu alayka ya Ja'far ibn Muhammad. Assalamu alayka ya Musa ibn Ja'far. Assalamu alayka ya Ali ibn Musa. Assalamu alayka ya Muhammad ibn Ali. Assalamu alayka ya Ali ibn Muhammad. Assalamu alayka ya Hasan ibn Ali. Assalamu ala al-wasiyyi min ba'd. Allahumma salli ala nurik wa sirajik wa waliyyi waliyik wa wasiyyi wasiyik wa hujjatika ala khalqik. Salawat Allah. Those that want to go are free to go. Those that would like to sit down and have a little Q&A, they're fine to ask your questions. You're free to go. We'll turn off the lights, and whoever wants to go can go. And whoever wants to stay can stay. They're coming to get me.